forward. We're calling this meeting to order, the special called City Council meeting of City of Guyton, July 22nd at 7 p.m. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Reeser and a second from Ms. Pelote. All in favor of approving the agenda? Aye.
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 Agenda is approved. At this time, we will be moving on to public comments. We are going to begin following Robert's rules for public comments. So this will be the time when all public comments are to be made. Public comments are limited to agenda items only. I would ask everyone to please state their name before beginning their comments. And please try to limit to 3 minutes so everyone can have time to speak. We will do this as orderly as we can. Please try to be respectful of other members who also want to speak. And if anyone has a public comment at this time, they may begin.
This is Andy Harville. Is this public comments for the whole thing?
Yes, sir. This is the public comments for the whole thing. When council begins new business, we will no longer entertain public comments. We're attempting to more closely follow Robert's rules to improve decorum and civility in the meetings.
Okay, that's fine. Well, obviously, I'm on the agenda tonight, and I found out via Facebook that I'm being considered to be removed from the Planning and Zoning Board, but there was no reasoning behind it. There was nothing in the actual agenda packet. I didn't ask to step down. Nobody's talked to me about it. I haven't heard from the actual chairperson of Planning and Zoning about this. So I was wondering if we can explain what this is on there for.
Council has decided to move into a different direction, and we appreciate your service up until this point.
What's the different direction? There's been 3 meetings. There's been 1 in person. There's been 2 teleconference. There's only been 1 item on the in-person, or 2 items on the in-person, and 1 on the 2 teleconferences. What did I do illegal? Did you hear my question?
Yes, sir. This is a time for public comments. If you'd like to make public comments, make them at this time.
I just did. I was asking what did I do that was illegal to kick me off of the Planning and Zoning?
That is a question. This is public comments, so you are allowed to speak and say your piece, but that is the time.
Okay, well, here, let's do this. After putting about 1.5 years of time into the city of Guyton just to be kicked off of a Planning and Zoning committee with someone who's I've never seen and never heard from, and the amount of feedback that I've gotten from the citizens of Guyton, I think this is the wrong thing to do. And it seems to me that some sort of retaliation because I put in some open record requests on your wrongdoings. If that's the case, then I'd imagine there's going to be some more issues going on later on down the road. The amount, just to find out via Facebook, that has to be the most cowardly thing to do, to put it on Facebook. Nobody could text me, nobody could email me, nobody could find me anywhere. I found out by 5 o'clock Monday afternoon. And on top of that, the obvious replacement of myself, kind of the nail in the coffin. I know it's hard for you, Mr. Lee. Just hang on 1 second. The nail in the coffin was the new ordinances being emailed out, and my name wasn't on the actual emails, but the person replacing me, her name was. So that just goes to tell me you've already had a private meeting behind doors and approved her to get rid of me. That is all.
Thank you, Mr. Harville. At this time, we will entertain more public comment. Please state your name for the record.
Scott Thompson. Mayor, okay, I understand that this is public comments and evidently not public questions. After each agenda item tonight, will there be questions for each agenda item?
No, sir.
All right, then how do we ask questions about the agenda item? This does not seem like Robert's Rules of Order.
If you have questions as the public, you can talk to the city manager tomorrow during business hours.
So that's how city council meetings are ran, but
Yes,
you
sir.
can't ask a question?
In most cities, city council meetings are run with a public comment section, and then for the city council to do business, they do their business and ask their questions. It is not standard operating procedure for citizens to ask questions throughout the meeting.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, the way this here particular removal of a person from the committee and nominating one is definitely not the way to do business. And the council is definitely showing their true colors on this one. And I will ask my question tomorrow. I'll see you at the city hall.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is Karen Keach. I have served on this council, and I have attended many council meetings in several cities. Never have I ever been unable to ask a question about an agenda item when it comes up during the meeting. Each time an item is discussed, the public needs to be able to ask questions at that time. I find this as a cowardly way of getting out of having to tell us anything we need and want to know. And having to ask the city manager what we want to know when we are directly speaking to the mayor and council at this time is cowardly. And I do not understand why you cannot man up and tell us what the purpose was for dismissing Mr. Hargrove and nominating another person without a public meeting. It's not right. I just don't know what the point is and what we're trying to prove here.
Thank you, Ms. Keach.
Yes, this is Lindsay Ronk. I had gotten kicked off the call, but I'm back on now. I'm a little bit confused on why we have to say our comments up first, because like everybody else is kind of saying that I've heard when I've made it back on, how can we ask a question when we haven't heard what you have to say about it? Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you, Ms. Ronk.
Sounds more like Russ's Rules of Order than Robert's.
Exactly.
That was a question.
And then also, I mean, on the agenda, it looks like you've already removed Andy because you've already put on there to replace him with somebody else. Without, I mean, don't you have to consider it one day and then maybe 2 days, 3 days down the line, you replace him? That is a question.
They're only taking comments. They're not answering questions.
Well, when do they answer our questions?
You have to go see the city manager in the morning.
I ain't got time for that. Why not do it right now while you've got everybody's attention? That's what you want these public meetings for the public.
Marshall Reeser, I didn't realize you were this spineless, I guess.
Mr. Thompson, Ms. Ronk has the floor. If you'd like to wait another turn, you can have your turn again. Ms. Ronk, do you have anything further for public comments?
Well, no, I mean, because you're not answering anything that I've asked, and I mean, everything you're telling me, if I say I want to know something to the public, you're telling me I have to come to City Hall tomorrow and speak to the manager. Well, that's not for the public. We all want to hear the same thing.
Exactly.
I'm done for now.
Thank you, Ms. Ronk.
Scott Thompson, Mr. Dean, you wish for me to repeat my statement?
Sure.
So Marshall Reeser, you are spineless if you let this stuff happen. This is very, very not the way things should be going.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Any other public comments at this time?
Once again, Mr. Mayor and Council, this is Karen Keach again. I want to know why you cannot answer our questions and why you are ignoring them.
Thank you, Ms. Keach. Are there more public comments at this time?
Mr. Mayor, if you're not going to answer the question, then I'm going to make a comment. The mayor and council are spineless and do not want to answer our questions, which tells us that you're doing things behind our back that are not ethical.
The other thing, this is Lindsay Ronk again, is you're doing it over a teleconference. So it's not even like we can see your faces or your reactions to what we're saying. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is Karen Keach again. We are just shy of 2,000 registered residents in this city. We are not a metropolis of thousands of residents. We are a hometown, family-oriented, God-fearing Christian community. Why can we not get answers in a public forum? And why is everything from this point forward being directed to the city manager when we elected you, Mr. Mayor, and our council representatives to give us the answers we want? We did not elect a city manager to take care of our questions that we want our representatives to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Keach. Does anyone else have a public comment at this time?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can you
Hello?
the record?
Yes, my name is Michelle Edmonds. We have been to city council meetings, county meetings. Several of you I know. We have been business owners in this community for more than 30 years now. I am really actually surprised to be reading this type of thing on Facebook and I have never, many of you are business owners. This is not how you run things. This is not how you have open communication with people that live in your community. Now, when someone asks the question, when we've gone to city council meetings, we've gotten an answer. No one wants to go ask a city manager for what their opinion is on it when you guys were voted in office, and we would all like to know your opinions on this. I mean, I don't understand. If you're going to let somebody go that's in a voluntary position, that has agreed to do the work, that has put the time in, that has shown up for your 3 meetings. I mean, if you have a problem with an employee or someone that's working with you, you sit down and have a discussion with them and try to resolve it. But to not even have that person be told what the issue was, and I have no clue. That's why I'm on here. All of us would like to know, and people we know, what is the problem? Why was Andy removed? Did anybody talk to him about making a solution to the problem? Or is this more closed doors behind the scenes politics that we're all so tired of watching and seeing every day on TV? This is a small community. I would think that you would have enough respect for all of you on this committee to at least give your opinion on this as to what is happening. I have never seen anything so bizarre in my life. Would anybody answer the question? I'm not going to ask the city manager. I would like to know, as all of you and business owners, when you have a problem with an employee, when you have a problem that's voluntarily doing work for you, do you not sit down and communicate with this person to resolve it? Or are you going to throw everybody off a committee and then put somebody else on there? Nobody's voted on, nobody's talked about, nobody knows if this person has, anything to do with building and zoning or committees or anything. You push one person off, put another one on. sweep it under the rug. I mean, is this just not common sense?
Thank you, Ms. Evanson. Does anyone else have a public comment at this time?
Wow.
Mr. Mayor, I have Karen Keach. I have one last comment. Everybody in Guyton does not use social media. Therefore, we depend strongly on our city officials and our representatives to keep us all abreast of what's going on. To do your business on Facebook is just ethically unheard of. And I am ashamed and disappointed that we put in the effort and the research to nominate and elect you, this council, and you, Mr. Mayor, for you to turn your backs on us and treat us like we have no say in how our city is run. Then I've paid taxes in the city of Guyton since 1980 and served on your council, and I know these people. Why are you putting someone in a volunteer position that no one knows and no one's heard of without ever hearing anything about them? This is not the way the city of Guyton runs its business. And I, for one, am very disturbed and embarrassed that y'all are representing us in this way.
Scott Thompson again. I would like to direct the comment towards the citizens that are listening. As it's been stated, there are 2 council members, maybe multiple ones or other ones that have businesses in this town that we all use, we trust. But if they conduct their city's business like this, think how they conduct their business. So keep that in mind next time you shop local.
This is Marilyn Spikes. I'd like to make a comment, please.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to address you as mayor or councilman because I think y'all are cowardly country boys hiding behind the city manager. Y'all need to man up and do your job or voluntarily resign. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, does anyone else have any public comments at this time?
Yes, I'd like to say something. My name is Jessica Newmeyer, and I just wanted to add that even the last town meeting that we did, you addressed the comments from the public as they came in.
And I would like to address that. That's a great question. In that meeting, I was threatened. In that meeting, the comments devolved into people screaming over people, some very interesting characters. And so in an attempt to move forward successfully as a city, we've decided to better embrace a public comment section so that when we get to the business of doing the business of the city, we can do it better.
This is Lindsay Ronk again. So basically you're saying, say everything you have to say first, then when we discuss it, we're going to do what we 5 want, regardless of what anybody else wants. I don't understand why you won't go as in line of agenda 1, you discuss it, you take the comments, and then we talk about it and you vote on it, just like we've done in the past.
Mr. Mayor, Karen Keach again. When I spoke with you in my driveway, when I shared my intentions of supporting you, you were for the people. You are taking a very cowardly stand right now. And I told you at that time that this was going to be a very challenging job for you. And you said, quote unquote, you were man enough to handle it. Well, I'm not seeing any courage in your stance regarding the citizens of this city. You are running and hiding and now transferring all your responsibilities to the city manager. We didn't elect him. We elected you. And you should step up and come forward and be respectful to your citizens and answer our questions.
Thank you, Ms. Keach. Does anyone new have any public comments?
Hey, this is Andy Harville again. I'd like to address Ms. Keith real quick. I apologize for backing Russ up for the position of mayor and getting in touch with y'all two in touch together. When did? Well, it's a question. I can't ask it. Was there supposed to be a vote to make this Robert's rule? That's a question. I don't know how you can.
No,
twist it
sir.
around,
I approve the agenda and set the agenda
you did it.
as the chair of the city. Yes, sir.
And yes, he is supposed to. There is supposed to be a discussion about it, as it was when they nominated the people for the zoning board.
All right.
Okay.
Let's try to get some order back and be respectful. Give everyone their time. Does anyone new have any public comments at this time?
I have a question.
Okay.
This is Michelle Edmondson again. I'm really not clear is this some sort of new rule or something that nobody's questions are answered? Can someone tell me that? Is this a city rule that people, when you come on to have a meeting, that your questions aren't answered? I'm asking that question. Is it in the city rules?
It is not, and they're not going to answer your questions.
Mr. Gerwig, I believe you had a comment.
No, sir.
I'm sorry. I thought I heard you.
This is Marilyn.
I have a
Spice
comment,
again.
Jeremiah Chansey. Oh. Go ahead.
This is Marilyn Spice again. I'm just wondering why we need a mayor and city council if we have to refer to the city manager. Do away with the mayor and city council and let's just have the city manager.
There you go.
This is Michelle Edmondson again. Are the elected officials not responsible to tell give us an answer? I don't want to talk to the city mayor. I want to talk to the people that are making these changes. Isn't this supposed to be open and transparent?
That's what they promised when they were elected.
And that was my point in saying, why should any of us have to go up to the city manager and ask them tomorrow what happened when we're all on the phone right now for the public meeting that they called? We would like our answers now. We're giving you our time now.
Karen Keach again. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Lee, I'm sorry, I don't know the other lady's name. Do you all not have any comment on these questions? Are y'all satisfied and agree with the way things are being handled? All of you?
They're afraid to speak up or they'll get kicked out.
And that's exactly what happened. Mr. Hargrove has a conflict with the mayor, and he had him removed.
Ms. Keach, this is Marshall Reeser. I have taken good notes of all your comments. I would just say that the new protocol is meant to be a more efficient process. The city council and the mayor are available for any discussions that you'd like to have outside of this meeting. It's not meant to not hear your calls, and I certainly appreciate everyone's support in the last election. Don't necessarily appreciate all the comments directed at me in a personal nature, but I do want you to know if you have personal or have any comments that you'd like to share with me outside of this meeting, please feel free to do that. I would ask that everyone keep it civil. I think Guyton has done made great strides. We've had great effort by our mayor. I'll speak up for the mayor because he has taken it on the chin from a lot of folks that have no problem speaking out loud. But the point is that Guyton is making tremendous strides. I don't really see where anyone could say that Guyton is not doing a great job. We have a great council. We work well together. We're moving forward in a positive nature. So that's all I'm going to say right now. But if you have any comments, feel free to reach out to me. But I would ask that everyone keep it civil. Thank you.
I'm trying to be civil, and I apologize if I'm not. But why do we have to do it outside of a public meeting? That's why we have public meetings, is to ask our questions and get answers so everyone hears it and knows it from the horse's mouth at the same time. And these new rules that y'all are making, why are you making new rules? We've always been able to ask questions and get answers. Why can we not do it now? Something is amiss when you don't get answers to your questions. And why can't we do it in a public forum like you're doing it now by removing Mr. Hargrove? I just want answers, and so does everybody else. So save everyone time and answer our questions.
This is Councilman Johnson. I stand behind the mayor and his decision of how we run our meetings. And as Mr. Reed just spoke, we are running our city council as a perfect team right now, and everything is running perfectly good. And our decisions are based on what needs to be best for the city of Guyton.
This is Ms. Pilote.
Yeah.
And I would like to say I support the mayor. And I agree wholeheartedly with what Mr. Reeser said. It has been to a point where things have gotten a little out of hand and personal. And it's not like it hasn't been done this way with other areas, other cities. And to keep things civil, this is the best way to go.
Thank you, Ms. Pelosi, Karen again, and I appreciate that. And I agree with all of y'all. But the point is that we need answers, and this is a public forum. And I fail to see why we can't get the answers now. And yes, you're trying to do it like other cities, but we're not other cities. We are a unique community, and we all need to pull together. So why can't we collectively get answers to questions without having to seek out individual? Because if I go to Mr. Reeser, he's going to tell me one thing. If I go to Mr. Dean, he's going to tell me something. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Lee, Ms. Pelosi, the same thing. I just don't understand why you cannot understand the citizens' need to have answers to our questions while we are all together in a public forum, unless there is something that is irregular about it. And if it is, then it's personal between, obviously, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Hargrove. And I hate to think that that is the truth. So in light of that, why can't we get some answers? It's real simple. Answer the question. Why was he removed and somebody else nominated without public input?
Thank you for your public comment. Are there any other public
This is
comments?
Scott Thompson again.
Let's keep in mind that I would like everyone to get a chance, as a lot of folks have spoken multiple times. If there's anyone new, Mr. Thompson, get your comment, but after that, someone new, please feel free to step forward.
Mr. Johnson just said that the whole city council has the best interest of the city of Guyton and the citizens in mind. But how do we know that if we do not get to ask questions and know the reasons behind decisions? How do we know you have the best interest of the city in mind? You might think you do, but we don't. Number two, is there going to be a vote tonight on all of these agenda items?
There will not be a vote tonight on all of the agenda items. Some of these are introductions, but the considerations will be voted upon.
I just don't understand how you can vote on something without debating each individual item. That's what Robert's Rules of Orders is to debate in order each individual item.
It is actually for
agenda as a whole.
It is actually for council members to debate the items, not for constant public input on the items. That's why most cities have a public comment section. If we could have anyone new, anyone that has not had a chance to speak.
So why would you not, if the council is going to debate, why would you not have the public input section at the end of the meeting versus the beginning when we have no idea what's going on other than the agenda items? Would that not make more sense to have public input at the end once they hear each side's debate?
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there anyone else with
I'm asking a question, Mr. Dean. Can you not answer?
Yes, I can answer that one, Mr. Thompson. Hold your tongue for one moment and I'll give you the answer. You live in a republic, a system of government where you have elected officials to represent your interest. That is the type of government that a city council is. Your input is not necessary outside of the vote. So outside of this meeting, you are welcome to address council members, mayor, and city officials. But in this meeting, it is actually not legally required to have any public comments whatsoever.
No, it may not be legally required, but morally required.
We're talking over each other. Is there any new public comments at this time?
Yes, I'd like to say something. Jeremiah Chancy. Okay, I want everybody that is listening to the call to listen to what the mayor just said. Your input is not required. Your input is not necessary. That means that they don't care about your input. They only care about their input and what they want. The whole purpose of democracy is to be able to come together and talk about ideas and debate the issues and hear both sides of the issues. It is not to silence the opposition and remove them unilaterally from positions because they disagree with you. That's not what democracy is, and that is not what elected officials should do. Elected officials are here to represent people and express your will and protect your rights. And I want everyone listening to ask themselves, does that seem like what the city council is doing? They don't have the integrity to stand up to you and tell you why they're making the decisions they're making. You just have to accept them. That's what authoritarian regimes do. They dictate to the people, and the people have to take it. They don't get a say in it. And just based on what Mr. Dean says, that's what he wants. He will tell you what is best for the city, and you will listen, and you will take it with no question whatsoever to be answered, because he doesn't have to answer questions. He was elected to a 4-year term, so he's got 3 years and 3.5 years left for him to do whatever he wants to behind closed doors. Because remember, all of these agenda items have already been decided on, because they already have somebody to replace Andy on the Planning and Zoning Board. So I encourage everyone in the city to go out and file an open records request under the Freedom of Information Act and request all email and written communications between any city council member and any employee of the city and between themselves, because those are public records. You have a right to them. You can read through them. They have to give them to you, even if they communicate between their own personal email addresses. If it is conducting city business, it is your right to see that information. So I encourage everyone tomorrow, get up, go to City Hall, go talk to the city manager, ask him every question you can, overburden him, show them how inefficient their new system of not asking and letting you ask questions so that they have to answer them really is. File those open records requests, bog them down in so much paperwork that they have no choice but to come back to you and start answering questions. Because listen at this, the way this meeting is going right now. This is not peak efficiency.
Nope.
10 to 20 different people have gotten on here and asked the same question. If it was efficient, they would have answered it the first time, and the other 19 people would not have had to ask it and still wonder what the answer is.
I find Mr. Dean's comment that he just made a most appalling of a person that was elected, and this is Michelle Edmondson, that what your comments were very childish and appalling. You were placed in that position to answer for the people, not that people put you there so you could decide amongst yourselves. This is the most insane thing I have ever heard.
Right,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to have your correct email address. Is it Russ Deen, Mayor of Guyton, or Russ Deen at City of Guyton.
It is Russ.Dean, that's D-E-E-N, like Paula, Russ.Dean at cityofguyton.com.
Then why is your email being answered from Russ Deen, Mayor of Guyton?
It's not. You're talking about my Facebook, which I have a Facebook page that says Russ Deen, Mayor of Guyton. If you email
Hey,
me.
Andy Harville again. Is there anybody that's new that wants to make a comment?
We haven't finished.
I want to hear it.
This is Andy Harville again. As far as the open records request go, good luck on that. I got 9 emails back from a 3-day period that was supposed to be
Open
from the
records
city
requests
manager.
are not being discussed in this meeting. This is limited to agenda.
We don't know that because we haven't gotten to the actual agenda. We're talking about what's going on right now.
I don't.
I did an open records request because I was wondering why I was getting kicked off. So actually, it is on the agenda. So I did the open record request, and I got 9 emails back. Along with the oath of offices, there's 2 that are missing because of past administration apparently. But the other were just emails that were forwarded back and forth, and I think they wanted to charge me for 8 hours worth of looking, and it wasn't even what I asked for. I will put in though that in the budget section, they are asking for a raise for city council. So they're looking to get a raise. Also going back to the planning and zoning, I'm sure there should have been some kind of discussion going on between the actual planning and zoning board instead of just Mr. Dean wanting to arbitrarily take me out, essentially. So, other than that, that's pretty much it. No questions.
Thank you, Mr. Harville. Are there any
You're
other
welcome.
public comments at this time?
Yes. Jeff Lacy. Dean, I appreciate that governing is hard. I get that. However, you made a comment earlier in this meeting that we are a republic and you are elected to represent the people. That does not correspond to the council's behavior this evening. And I, for one, am appalled. But that's my only comment, and I will let you have the floor back.
Thank you, Mr. Laracy. Are there public comments from new people at this time?
Yes, I have a comment. This has been Dover, and I'm curious if anybody has actual budget experience or any experience managing anything besides their 2-person business, because this is not the way to run a city. This is not the way to run a company, and nobody on this board is representing their citizens.
Thank you, Ms. Dover. Are there any other comments at this time?
This is Marilyn Spikes again, and I think everybody needs to meet at the caboose where the protest is being held Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, and maybe get a couple of news stations up there to hear everybody's concern that these people are too cowards to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other new members?
Mr. Mayor, this is Michael Garvin. First of all, I want to commend you and the council on the job that y'all are doing, and to say that all the citizens of Guyton is probably not on this call, and you all was elected to represent the city of Guyton and all of its citizens, not just a few angry ones who disapprove of some of the things that you all do. So I would ask that you all continue to hold your heads up and govern this city for all the citizens of Guyton, to make Guyton a better Guyton. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other new public comment? All right, as there are no further public comments, we will move on to new business. Item A, consideration to adopt ordinance number 2020-05, fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. Mr. Sawyer, if you'll go ahead.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we have had the required number of public hearings on the FY 2021 budget. There are no changes to the budget. Give the budget to the public and answer their questions. Now I ask for your unanimous approval for the FY 2021 budget.
Does anyone on council have any questions?
Brian over there.
Um,
Well, I'm gonna get because I'm on another call. I'm gonna get on the
we need to mute everybody.
Yes, I will. Give me just a moment and I'll have council back ready to go. Ms. Herschler, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. At this time, we have a consideration to adopt ordinance number 2020-05, fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2020/05.
I'll second. I'll second that motion.
Motion from the mayor, second from Mr. Reeser. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consideration to remove Mr. Andy Harville from the Planning and Zoning Committee per section 311G of Guyton City Charter. I will turn this over to Ms. Pelote at this time.
To the mayor and council of the city of Guyton, I would like to make a motion to remove Mr. Andy Harville from the position as board member of the city of Guyton Planning and Zoning Committee per section 3.11G of the Guyton City Charter, which states all board members serve at will and may be removed at any time by a vote of 3 members of the city council unless otherwise provided by law.
I second Ms. Pelote's motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Pelote and a second by Mr. Reeser. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Mayor, we would like to thank Mr. Harville. The city would like to thank Mr. Harville for his service and dedication to the Planning and Zoning Committee. Thank you, Mr. Harville.
So noted. The item C, consideration to appoint Mrs. Dana Lee to the Planning and Zoning Committee. Ms. Lee, are you on the call?
I think she was, but.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
If it pleases council, I would like to nominate Ms. Dana Lee to the Planning and Zoning Committee for your approval. Ms. Lee has been a known member of the community for many years. She has come to council members and staff before even I was in office and asked to be involved in city government. And we met through her husband, Mark Lee, who is the Solicitor General for Effingham County. We met through him, and she expressed her desire to work on things like the historical buildings and improving our city, and I thought she'd be an excellent fit for planning and zoning. So at this time, I'd like to put her before you and ask you to appoint her to the Planning and Zoning Committee.
I second that nomination or that motion.
I believe it's up for being moved on. This is Bobo Mullins.
Okay.
If someone will make the motion.
Oh yeah, someone has to make the motion. I make a motion that Miss Dana Lee be approved for the Planning and Zoning Committee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Pelote and a second from Mr. Reeser. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We appreciate your offer to serve. Ms. Lee, if you will look to your oath of office at this time, as I'm not familiar and I've asked my attorney, I think it is best if I read through it, and then if you will read through it, and we will have it signed in the near future once COVID allows. Oath of office, City of Guyton, State of Georgia, County of Effingham. I, Dana Lee, a citizen of Effingham County, State of Georgia, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will well and truly perform the duties of a Planning and Zoning Committee member of the the city of Guyton, Georgia, that I will faithfully enforce the law of this city, that I will support and defend the charter thereof, as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia and the United States of America, and that I will do all in my power to promote the general welfare of the inhabitants of the city of Guyton and the common interests thereof. I do further solemnly swear and affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money through this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof, that I am not the holder of any office or trust under the government of the United States, any other state, or any foreign state, which by the laws of the state of Georgia I am prohibited from holding, that I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia. So help me God.
Okay, Russ, I'll repeat that for you. State of Georgia, County of Effingham, I, Dana Lee, a citizen of Effingham County, State of Georgia, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will well and truly perform the duties of a Planning and Zoning Committee member of the City of Guyton, Georgia, that I will faithfully enforce the law of the city, that I will support and defend the charter thereof, as well as the Constitution and laws of the State of Georgia and the United States of America, and that I will do all in my power to promote the general welfare of the inhabitants of the City of Guyton, common interest thereof. I do further solemnly swear and affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state, or any subdivision or authority thereof, that I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States, any other state, or any foreign state, which because of the state of Georgia I am prohibited from holding, that I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia. So help me.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Welcome to the City of Guyton administration. We appreciate your willingness to serve.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Welcome, Ms. Lee. Welcome.
Welcome.
On to item D, consideration to approve resolution number R 2020-04, a resolution by the mayor and council of the City of Guyton, Georgia, to initiate the process to amend and restate the City of Guyton, Georgia zoning ordinance, and to amend the official zoning map of Guyton of Georgia. I'll turn it over to our city attorney, Bobo Mullins, at this time. Bobo, here you may be muted.
Yeah, you got him muted. You got him muted. You got the unmuting.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bobo Mullins in capacity as city attorney tonight. Mr. Mayor, council, city manager, and citizens of Guyton, thank you for your time and patience tonight. I speak to broadly overview what the city is proposing to its citizens, what it sees as a great benefit to all citizens and stakeholders in the city. And that is updating, amending, and passing a package of ordinances related to zoning, subdivisions, building regulations, and the same. This is meant to be a collaborative input process in that there will be a number of meetings, hearings, and discussions both by the Planning and Zoning Commission and Committee as well as City Council. These are requirements set forth by state statute in what's called the Planning and Zoning Act, codified in the state statutes, and we're keeping that in mind as far as notices and the like. What is going to happen, just broadly speaking, procedurally, is this. There's going to be a resolution considered by the City Council, that's R2020-04, to initiate the process that's required per the existing ordinances. What the city would encourage all stakeholders and citizens is if you review the documents, you review the map, and there are either specific questions related to your property or just generally to make sure you either come to City Hall and speak to folks at City Hall or let a representative know on your council or go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's what the process is for. That's what the state law is encouraging. The purpose of tonight's reading is to put everyone on notice and to give everyone an opportunity to participate and do their research. The point tonight for the zoning, at least, is not for decisions to be made by council or anyone else, simply to begin the process so that everyone's fairly advised. So I can tell you, just broadly speaking, obviously there'll be more detail at planning and zoning meetings held in, I believe, August, as well as a city meeting in September that'll be published I believe both on the website and in the newspaper as required by law. But I will tell you broadly, the zoning ordinance will do three things. One, it's a general update because I believe the current ones date to the 90s, and the language should match neighboring counties and sister cities. Moreover, there was an inclusion of signage language that did not previously exist, and it was thought that would be helpful. Additionally, there's a mixed-use district that might be helpful for development. That's put in there as a proposal. But, please review it, and the city will do its best to do right by all stakeholders and citizens, and obviously that involves everyone being respectful and working together. So with that, I will ask for the city council to consider the resolution, and then should that be adopted, I will then introduce by reading the three proposed ordinances.
Thank you, Bobo. Just making sure I'm understanding this correctly. The resolution tonight is just initiating the process that should take all the way to the end of September for us to update and amend our map as well as our zoning code. All these things can be discussed during this time. There'll be numerous public hearings, and we're even discussing a workshop at the advice of Mr. Gerwig to move forward and educate and inform as we go. But this is just to say we are starting the process, correct?
I thought that's what he said as well. He's on mute.
Muted again.
Yeah, I apologize. You would think I'd be better with technology. That is correct, Mr. Mayor. This is simply what we call a notice procedure. This is starting a month-long process. And I also say this, should there be substantive changes made to the proposed map and or the substance of the ordinances, I would anticipate there being another initial reading just to make sure everyone is fully informed and working off the same information. So the city wants to do this right, and that's the goal, and that's the process that's being begun by these initial readings.
Mr. Mayor, I would just say I applaud the effort after serving on planning and zoning for several years before council. We did have a planning and zoning ordinance that needed to be updated to have been patched and repatched. So I think this is a fantastic way to move forward to get our planning and zoning ordinance up to speed and to allow for the right kind of development that we want to come into our town.
And I would say, Mr. Mayor, I've been around on council and seen some subdivisions that we allowed and some stuff that we allowed to come through that can't actually happen in the future for planning because it's costing our citizens, and we need to fix that issue. So this is a plus. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reason. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. If there are no more council discussion at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution number R 2020-04.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a motion by Mr. Reason and a second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Sorry, Mr. Lee, I didn't get you unmuted. Would you like to?
Yeah, that's what I was asking to have you had me muted.
Sorry about that, sir.
I was talking, but you never could hear me. That's all right.
All right, the last motion carried, so we will be moving on to items E, F, and G. All of these will be done by Mr. Bobo Mullins. If you will please introduce the ordinances. He keeps muting himself.
All right, folks, there'll be 3 readings. Again, the city council is not taking action on it. It's a process that will be continued over the next month, 2 months, and you'll have plenty of public notice on specific meetings. But I will begin by reading in introducing ordinance number 2020-08. This is an ordinance by the mayor and council for the city of Guyton to amend and restate the city of Guyton, Georgia zoning ordinance and to amend the official zoning map of Guyton, Georgia, to provide for notice, to provide for severability, to provide an effective date, to repeal all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith and for other purposes. That is a reading of ordinance number 2020-08. It can be seen in more detail in the minutes that'll be produced shortly after this meeting, if you don't already have a copy. I will now read an ordinance number 2020-09 that provides an ordinance by the mayor and council for the city of Guyton to amend and restate the city of Guyton, Georgia building regulations, to provide for notice, to provide for severability, to provide an effective date, to repeal all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith and for other purposes. That concludes ordinance number 2020-09. I will now introduce and read in ordinance number 2020-10. This is an ordinance by the mayor and council for the city of Guyton to amend and restate the city of Guyton, Georgia subdivision regulations, to provide for notice, to provide for severability, to provide an effective date, to repeal all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith and for other purposes. That concludes my reading and introduction of the 3 ordinance numbers related to zoning, subdivisions, and building regulations. Again, if you've missed part of this call, it is the city's intent to follow all zoning related ordinances in effect and state guidelines, and the process will be advertised publicly. All stakeholders and citizens encouraged to communicate openly and directly so that the ordinances and map can be adopted with full input. So with that, I yield the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. I would like to repeat, there is a copy of all these ordinances in the agenda packet for tonight's meeting. It is available on our website under agenda packets. We'll also be making these copies available. And we will come out with a calendar here in the next few days of related to this, public hearings, and hopefully a workshop if we can wrangle that. That should be able to happen. As these introductions have been made, at this time, I will entertain a consideration to adjourn this meeting.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your service. Glad to have you, Miss Lee, and y'all have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
All right.